Hello and welcome to the Space Between Ideas. I'm Blaine Gates. I am pleased to welcome Timur back to the show. Hello, Timur. How are you doing?
Hi, Blaine. Good. How are you?
Fantastic. How's the weather and how are things in Moscow?
It's a bit raining sometimes, but right now sunny. Yeah, things are very good. Thank you.
And have you?
How's how's Saudi Arabia?
Sorry. It's about 47, 48 degrees Celsius, which is about 120 degrees Fahrenheit every single day. It's interesting because, when I turn on the water for the shower, it's already hot water.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's almost too hot. It's like, where's the cold water?
Yeah.
So, have you met any farmers recently?
Not in person, although I was in the farmer regions of Russia, but basically it was for vacation. I do hope to start some interviews with the farmers, hopefully, if things don't close up in the nearest future because of the COVID second wave. Hopefully, I don't know, next month, I will try to already start interviews and go more deeper into the things. But this particular client that is an Australian farmer that we discussed before, yeah, we are moving further with him. So not haven't met him personally because he cannot travel to Russia yet, but constantly with him online discussing what are the strategies for him to come to Russia. So we are right now basically at the stage of registering a company for him, and that company will sponsor his work permit and his work visa, and he will that will take about a month. So he's ready to wait in one of the countries in Europe closer to Russia for a month for his work permit and work visa to be issued. And when the borders are opened for Russia, I mean for foreigners to enter Russia, he would enter Russia and then already start doing his things. Basically, his goal is to be able to build. He's also a construction guy, so he has two types of business. He constructs houses, yeah, private houses. So his idea is to be able to enter Russia as fast as possible, to be able to build a house before the winter comes.
Okay.
Yeah. So he has literally, I don't know, 3-4 months to do that. So that's his kind of pain.
Yeah, it always reminds me of my ancestors because in Canada they were giving away land and they told the people if you build a log cabin, quickly build a log cabin before the winter and the land is yours.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right, let me share my screen with you. Okay, so here is your Create Crucial Insight page. Let's just, for the new viewers, let's just start from the top. The endeavor is to be able to be the source of information for foreign nationals that want to move to Russia, increase market share, especially for people that want to do farming. And so let's look at, now we could go into basically the state progress checklist. The state progress checklist is the basic checklist that basically you start out with discussing your goals, for example, your long-term goals and your short-term goals, and then you discuss some of the scenarios, plans, and actions, things you're going to do to achieve those goals. And then eventually you have to get the information and put together the team and have the motivation and resources to accomplish those plans and reach those outcomes. Now, as you can see, we're still working with understanding clearly what our goals are going to be. For example, some of the reuses, we have large cooperative farms connecting to retail chains, also management company to provide additional access and support to succeed in Russia. Right now, those are just some of the basic thoughts that we were considering. There's actually a checklist which will help us to look, use a magnifying glass to look really, really closely at reuses. And that checklist is called state synergies. All right, so the next 3 steps in our discussions and in our videos, we are going to look at the sequence of events and create endeavors and state synergies. Okay, so state synergies is here, this checklist, and the checklist is used to discuss reuses. And then we have a couple of other things that we're going to work on, but let's just focus on the first one. So when I say sequence of events, of course, I'm talking about our whiteboard. All right, so if I zoom in, this is the information that we started with last time. All right, so maybe you can walk us through the steps that people take when they want to come into Russia, just quickly.
Well, as we discussed last time, yeah, if there is somebody that wants to relocate from a particular company and go to Russia for different types of reasons, first they need to search for information. They need to understand what are the immigration procedures, what is the general information about the company, about the country. So they need information, and that's one of our goals, to create a reliable, up-to-date information regarding moving to Russia and basically starting their own business if they are in that particular, I would say, farming industry. Yeah, that's what we are focusing on right now. Then we do have some of the marketing things, how we want to reach out to those people, and we do have information how to do that the best way, not only through like general marketing, but very, very specific targeting real people, yeah, real decision makers. Word of mouth is also one of those things. So it's a two-side process. Yeah, at first we need basically to create, I would say, a packaged product, and then try to find those people that are interested in doing this. Because right now we are in the process of making something that other countries done a long time ago, called investor visas. In some countries, it's probably called differently, but something similar. Yeah, when you have an understandable process on how to move to a different country, with all the grounds to do that, with all the procedures, with all the costs. So we are basically building this right now, because it's not there. I mean, it's not, nobody did that yet, because the immigration laws are changing so fast. And when we speak about immigration, mainly the government and other people are looking at the immigration, I would say, traffic that comes from the CIS countries, but we are looking more from the countries, visa countries, yeah, from all over the world. And for that, there is a lot of homework to be done.
Yeah. Good. All right. So now today we're going to talk about state synergies. So let's begin by going through an example of the state synergies checklist from the book Create Crucial Insight. And then we will apply the principles to the map and see if we can pull out some of those ideas from this process. All right, so the state synergies, basically it says at the top that we use the state synergies checklist to spot opportunities for cooperation. And that state synergies could include serving clients, aiding peers, helping providers, and also that this cooperation will change over time. Now let's go into this example. All right, so in this example, let me read this. It says, this example shows insight people can gain by using the checklist. Here, an organization tries to hire a salesperson. People can use the checklist to ideate. Figure 20, so here's figure 20. So ideate, it just means come up with ideas. Figure 20 shows possible synergies people might spot. People can decide the extent to pursue goals and activities such as those suggested in the right column. So here's instances. So basically you have the typical activity on the left, and then on the right you can write down, like, so how do you engage in those typical activities? All right, so now in this specific situation, the company is thinking about hiring a salesperson. Now let's go ahead and read this first box. Is it big enough?
Yeah, employment candidates receive feedback to help them determine whether they want to take this job. Hiring includes the selected candidate and the enterprise setting expectations for each other. Existing workers prepare to welcome and work with a new employee.
All right, so in this case, it seems like the client is the salesperson. All right, so how does the company serve the salesperson? All right, so one thing that the company does is the company gives feedback to the client. Another thing that the company does is the hiring includes setting expectations for each other. And then finally, to serve the client, the people in the company, they prepare some type of welcome package for the new employee.
Yep.
All right, so let's look at this mind map, and if you are providing services for people, who are the people that you are providing services for? Who is the client?
Well, for us, the client would be a foreign citizen that wants to relocate to Russia. But for this particular project, we're not talking about those that come temporarily for assignment to work in Russia and then after several years go back. We are talking about those that made a decision to relocate to Russia permanently, and in many cases it's with their families. So that's for that particular project is the picture of our client.
All right, so are there any other clients in this? So okay, so you have this African family, and they're looking at information on a website. So generally the client is the person who's going to give you money, and you're going to provide services.
Correct.
So in this whole process, is there anybody else that's giving you money?
No.
No, the money comes from, okay. All right. Now, and so then the next step is, it looks like, based on this book, it's like, what are the instances? So how do you serve that client? What are the specific things you do to serve them?
We will basically guide the client with all the step-by-step procedures on how a particular client can get to their goal. Yeah, relocate to Russia, get the proper immigration documents, set up the business if that's the case, acquire land, and that I would say is the settlement package. Yeah. Further on, if the client needs, and that's further on for us as well, what we need to do is basically to help the client to I don't know, sell the products that they will be producing. If we are speaking about pharma business, I would say that our idea and our goal is to become a trustful partner for the client for most of their needs, legal, immigration, and basically helping with many other potential needs that a person can have. It's quite hard to foresee and describe everything. It's just literally a big thing to go to another country and settle in there permanently.
Okay, interesting. All right, well, let's look at the next step. So the next one, can you read this next one, 8 peers?
Mhm. This and other hiring efforts share knowledge about employment candidates. This hiring effort coordinates with corporate internal programs, fostering developmental assignments for employees.
What peers is talking about, it is the people within the company. So peers actually, the meaning, it means friends in general. But
Mhm,
in this case, it means other people within the company.
mhm,
So, like for example, when it says this and other hiring efforts share
mhm,
knowledge about employment candidates. So, like say here you have the marketing department, and then over
mhm,
here you have like some other department, uh,
mhm,
maybe the engineering department, and
mhm.
these two hiring departments, they need to share information with each other so that they can make better decisions about the hiring process.
Yep.
Also, here it says there's some kind of internal corporate program to help develop new employees. All
Yep.
right, so you have the HR department, and then you have this other department called the New Employee Development Department, and they also have to work together. All right,
Yep.
so let's talk about what are some of the people in your company that and some of the departments that you need to focus on in order to successfully help these people.
Well, yeah, we also need to do a lot in order to be able to serve the client properly. Yeah, because here, if we speak about our internal organization, basically in this process, you will have immigration consultants that are involved. You will have lawyers that would be involved into setting up um, companies for these people. And internally in our company, it's different people. Yeah, it's different departments. So it's a corporate and legal department. It's immigration department. Basically, I would believe that at one point of time we would need to create an analytical department. Yeah, so those guys, their goal would be basically to find out information about Russian regions that provide mm, uh, that provide basically land for farming. Yeah, and Russia has a lot of regions, and every region has their own um, rules and have their own basically access to the agricultural land. Yeah, and this is the information that immigration consultants or lawyers don't know. Yeah, so it needs to be a researcher that will be gathering all that information, putting this information together, and provide in a standard in a standard form. Yeah, so that a foreign national can have the possibility to choose whether they would like to settle in Moscow region, whether they would like to settle on the Far East, whether they would like to settle somewhere in the middle of Russia or in the south. Yeah, and then of course we would need to have other people, which I would call, that's a general working title, I would call real estate specialists. Yeah, because it's not only about finding a proper land, I mean, just from the point of view of land plot, but it's also to liaise with the municipal authorities, understanding what are the conditions that this land can be leased or purchased. This is connecting with, if we're speaking not about the municipal authorities, but the private land that, say, a Russian farmer that wants to sell his farm, what are the conditions for that, for selling that farm, for acquiring that farm. Yeah, so to understand what is the current, then the lawyers would come in to understand what are the current rights for the land, what is the current, if there are any problems with the title for ownership of this land, and then basically to speak with these people. Yeah, and understand like what are the conditions, whether they're willing to provide any discounts, whether they're willing to wait until the foreign nationals receive citizenship in order to be able to buy in their own name, or whether we need to create a special vehicle like a company that will buy the land at first. So there is a lot of things that we also need to internally do, and this is would be separated between different people. Yeah, current people cannot do all that. Yeah, it's just not their specifics. It's just not within their knowledge. So basically, I would say I would need an analytical, a research person. That would need real estate, somebody that is well trained and has experience in real estate transactions. Yeah, just not only from the legal point of view, but also from the point of view of constant search of potential land plots, potential farms that have been on sale, etc., etc. Because just to give you an example, you can Google in the internet and find some farms that are being sold, but you don't know whether this information is valid, when it was posted, meaning that whether it's up-to-date information. Yeah, it's just not something that you hold on, not something that you know on a daily basis, working with those salespeople, working with those municipalities that give you the right to use the land. So, and this is something that we still need to employ such people in order to provide the proper service to our potential clients.
Good. I also added marketing specialists to put all this information into a website and communicate with.
Absolutely.
Is there anyone else that you need in your team? So far, there's 5 people on this in your team to help these guys relocate.
Well, the first 2 we do have. The third and fourth, this is something that we'll be looking for. The marketing, I would say some of the content we do ourselves, but some we, of course, are using providers.
Market access specialists for helping the farmers get the products, purchasing equipment, and
yeah, all that. Yeah, thanks for reminding. That's of course also a big thing.
farm tools and sales. Yeah, so there's lots of interesting things. It's quite the endeavor. All right, let's jump into the last one. Well, not the last one, but the next one. Providers.
Salesperson hiring, decision makers help human resources, staff, and systems announce the job opening and find candidates for employment.
This one is confusing me a little bit because provider. Who is the provider in this situation? Now let's jump up here. It says, think of providers from which the endeavor might receive support. Okay, so the main endeavor is to hire a salesperson, and it's just asking who is going to provide some help for this endeavor. So a salesperson, decision maker, will help the human resource staff. So in this case, it's an internal decision.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's think of providers. So when we look at this process, are there outside companies or service providers that you need in order to push forward this endeavor? Who do you need help from?
Well, again, if we speak like what we just discussed, yeah, we can hire real estate specialists in our own company, like in our company. We can start using real estate agencies. Yeah, we can hire our own market access specialists or marketing specialists, or we can use some providers. Similar with analytics, yeah, we can use developed internally by hiring people, or use some existing reports that there are. I'm more into probably developing it internally, because I'm not sure how to even come up with these ideas to the existing companies, whether they will be interested in this, whether they won't be interested, whether they will say, okay, when you're ready, come to us, we'll try to find you the land. Maybe we will combine. Maybe at the first stage we'll use the other providers and then have it internally. If that's what meant under providers in this particular instance, then that's, I think, what, if I understand it correctly, then that's what we plan to do.
You can almost see like a chessboard where, you know, we kind of like, there's this place called Russia, and then there's all these pieces that have to be in the right place in order to play the game. And so right now we're just identifying the pieces and talking about how they move. And so in order to create this this game, but it's starting to take shape, and it's starting to look real. So here's the chessboard here. This is what we talked about earlier. And then now we're starting to look at the pieces, and this game is starting to look pretty interesting.
Okay.
Well, I'd like to thank Timur once again for coming to the show, and I look forward to seeing you again.
Yep. Talk to you next week.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.